Hello everybody. I wanted to give you a real quick and short video to help you with the concept of corporate United States and the Republic of the American people. In the concept of the Constitution, if you read it thoroughly and parse its language, it talks about two Congresses assembling. One was the corporate body that was responsible for the trade of the American people as they brought their products forth. So basically the United States, or the States of America United, had two compacts. They had the compact of the law with the sovereign rights of the people and the substantial rights given to us by our Creator, of which are enumerated within the Constitution and the amendments themselves. And they're very specific, and they are to be read exactly as they are. They're not to be interpreted, where their grants can be extended but not expanded. So when it says that the right to bear arms is an unalienable right, it means unalienable. No regulation from state. Doesn't matter if you're a felon, doesn't matter anything. There is no regulation against the right to bear arms, because the purposes of the right to bear arms is to protect the people from tyrannical government. The foundations of the institutions of state that created the States of America United were us pulling away from what we perceive to be the tyranny of the authoritarian states of the monarchs and the histories of all those, the Roman Empire. So the American ideology of the people is that the people have substantial rights given to them by God, not the state. Those are the civil rights that they've talked a lot of people into accepting versus the unalienable rights given by God. So you have the United States, the States of America United, who created a corporate body where they brought forth their commerce from the states, and they traded it through a centralized trading system. Okay? And it originated from the Virginia Company. So that's the corporate United States that is in existence today and is now in utter coup and is openly acting roguishly and has clear treason, sedition, and subterfuge happening within it. Reprobate people, not operating in the best interest of the American people. Then you have the institution of law, which is the common law, which governs all aspects of our lives. The common law is what brought forth the sovereignty of the people to effect a proper state, a lawful state, and the grant of laws conferred therein, is what brought forth the creation of the instrument of the Constitution, which created the States of America United and the trading company, and was supposed to govern the actions of the trading company. Well, that instrument of law was slowly couped in our government, starting with the War of 1812, the obfuscation of the lawfully ratified 13th Amendment, which parsed who could be in that instrument and who could not. You could not be an agent of international corporate bankers, for example, as a bar union member, and be a member of the Republic government that governed the laws that instrument was bound by. Because the corporate government is bound by the Constitution itself. It is the highest law of the land. And the rights conferred therein of the sovereignty of the people is there. Because here's the deal. If the people aren't sovereign, then how do they create a state? And that's what we did. The people created the state. The state didn't exist, and we were dropped in it as vassals. We created the instruments of state in our sovereign capacity as enlightened instruments of God. So the American people are the common law tenants, that the natural law officers that determine what states have the right to do, the states of men. So there's the state of being of the man. There's states of men united in law under what is right in law. And then there's the corporate construct of the bodies of men which come together as states of men to create commerce. So the first foundation is the sovereign man. That is the American Republic. Each individual sovereign man, woman, child, and in some people's minds, beasts, have the unbridled right to live freely. So for the people who are not of the American construct and do not understand such things, that hopefully will help, because the United States Corporation is not the American people. And you are going to see us start to exercise some of our unalienable natural rights under the law of necessity and those protected as substantial rights, such as the right to bear arms. You're going to start seeing those exercised openly. And it's going to confuse some probably people in the international community because they don't understand the American concept of governance. I didn't say government, I said governance, because we define who governs us. And if our state is deemed to be operating outside the law or rogue, we have the instruments of law within the rights of the fourth branch. Yes, there is a fourth branch of the American government. That is the Republic people in their sovereign capacity. That's outside the executive branch, that's outside the judicial branch, and that's outside the legislative branch. It is actually affirmed by Scalia. He spoke about it, which is probably why he met an untimely early demise, is because he affirmed within even the corporate Supreme Court that the fourth branch of government, the people, the body of the people, have the unbridled right to the instruments of the common law, which I've talked about before. The militias, the sheriffs, and the common law de jure grand juries, which we will reaffirm and we will bring forth again as the actions of our state are requiring us to do it. So, you're also going to see in the press and the news, stories about people openly carrying guns and how that's a bad thing. No, it's not. In the American construct, that is a good thing, because that is the one thing that keeps totalitarian states, which are no longer operating at the interest of the people, from becoming all-out totalitarian oppressive regimes. De facto military occupations, and not military like junta. We're talking military as in the organized state military, the organized power of corporate fascism coming in, trying to take the guns away of the sovereign people who, pursuant to the formations of the government, know that the right to bear arms and to protect ourselves from unlawful searches and seizures and occupations is the reason for that Second Amendment. So, in the American theater, which is going to become, in my mind, very interesting in the near future, you are going to start seeing what the American concept is. And I want you to be able to parse between the corporate government and the American people, because they are not the same. And at this point, they barely even touch, because the American people on the whole are disgusted with the politics that is happening and the clear and apparent rogue nature of the instruments of state, which clearly think that they are above the sovereign people. And that's not how the American concept of government is. In American government, the government is beholden to the people in all accords, and whatever they say, they must do. So if you have a government that is not beholden to the people anymore, that tells you that they're not our government. And we have set up instruments within our rights as people to vacate them and to set them aside and to reform them at our will. And if we need to do that by exercising those amendments, such as carrying guns and protecting ourselves, we will. There's a piece on RT that was brought up to my attention that I'm going to put on here as a link, and I highly suggest you all watch it, because you're going to see that happen on a regular basis. Men with jeans and t-shirts who are not police, who are not National Guard, who don't have any organization other than they are the militia. They are free-willed, free men and women exercising their Second Amendment for the purposes of reminding our own government and reminding any of those people who aren't American, who think they're going to come in here and occupy this land or oppress us with foreign occupation, be it a federal force in posse comitatus, or the United Nations coming in thinking that they're going to oppress us and organize us and oppress military law on us. That's not going to fly. I may not know every American, and I may not necessarily have taken a poll, but I'm going to tell you that the preponderance of Americans are not going to tolerate such foreign military occupations. You can wrap it in whatever way you want. You can say it in whatever way you want. But the American Republic, the people, will not tolerate foreign occupations of any kind, because we have our own instruments of law in the fourth branch called the militia, the sheriffs and the common law grand juries, that if they would stop oppressing and they would stop tyrannizing the people, we could exercise it. So if it comes to that, know that the American people as a republic will rise to the occasion of their Declaration of Independence, and with prudence we will cast off the chains of tyrannical governments. So I just wanted you to understand, as a foreigner, that the United States government is not the people, that the instruments of law separate us, we have separate rights, and that the American people, though they have allowed them to lay vacant mostly because of ignorance since the Civil War, when they were never restored, instead reformed into a purely corporate status, that those people are starting to wake up, and they have every intention of protecting those rights. And the video that you see there, if you see 10 or 15 men, imagine that times thousands, 2,000, 10,000, 100,000. Because I'm not sure, I don't remember the name of the Asian general that said that there's a gun behind every blade of grass in this country. I'm going to tell you there's about 10. So that's the American concept. The American people are not the American government. They should not be viewed as the American government, and they are bringing forth their fourth branch instruments, and that should make a whole lot of people feel actually a lot safer, because we are not going to allow them to occupy us or to take over this land and allow the only free nation in the world with the right to bear arms to be occupied and conquered by foreign bankers and people who would harm the world for the purposes of enslaving us all. So peace be with all of you and with your families. And I pray and hope that we all have enough. Godspeed.